Holly with Stella Mari's Quilts. Welcome to our series on 50 blocks for 50 states, following along with the designs from this book. Check out the description box below for more information about that, as well as the link to the pattern that we've written with step-by-step instructions. So today's block is for New Mexico. So grab your cup of tea and let's get started. For New Mexico, we're going to need some 4-inch squares of our dark and our light. There's 6 each here. We're going to need 5 3.5-inch squares of our dark, and then we're going to need a couple 1.5-inch strips of both our dark and our light fabric. We're going to go ahead and get started by making half square triangles. And in order to keep the straight of green on the sides and have things less likely to distort, I'm going to do this as a 2 at a time method. So what we're going to do is we're going to, on the back of our lights, we're going to draw a line from corner to corner. We will pair each of our lights with a dark, and with right sides together, we'll go ahead and sew on both sides of that drawn line. Now that I've sewn down on both sides, I did my seam allowance a little bit more of a scant 1/4 inch versus a 1/4 inch. There's not a lot of wiggle room on this, so I wanted to make sure I had enough to trim and square my blocks. I'm going to go ahead and just cut down the center on the drawn line. And if you have a block lock or you're going to use a normal square to square your triangles, you're going to want to press this open first. I'm going to go ahead and use my Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer. And I'm going to trim this and square to 3.5 inches. So I've got my stitch line lined up with the stitch line on the ruler. I'm going to go ahead and just shave off a little bit on each side. You can see there's not a lot there to trim off. And then we have our half square triangles. So I'm going to go ahead and do this to all of mine, and then we'll come on and do the next step. Next, we're going to make 2 strip sets. We're going to make one strip set that is dark, light, dark. This one needs to be at least 12 inches long. And then we're going to make a strip set that's light, dark, light. And this one needs to be at least 20 inches long. To make that strip set, I'm just going to lay them out, and then I will fold it over, sew down one side, open it up, add the other one, and then sew down. Now it's time to do some subcuts. So of our light, dark, light combination, I'm going to first straighten out my edge. So I have a good edge to work from. And I'm going to cut 4 units that are 3.5. These will be used as finished units within the block. So while I'm doing this, I'm just making sure I have my line straight on the edge, as well as at least one line straight with the parallel seams here. And then I need 4 1.5-inch sections. Okay, then out of our strip unit that is the dark, light, dark, we're going to straighten out the edge as well. Let me just make sure I've got this nice and straight on my mat here. And we're going to need 8 1.5-inch units from this strip set. Now we're going to use these units to make 4 9 patches. So I'm going to put them together just like that with our light, dark, light, dark, then our light, dark, light, then dark, light, dark to form a 9 patch. I'll just pair all of these up and I'm going to make 4 of those. Now that we have all of our units, it's time to lay out the whole block. So we're going to start with just a solid square in the center. And then around that, we are going to put our 9 patches in the corners. I have to shift this up a little bit. And our bar blocks here, circling the center so that the light is always touching that center square. And then around the outside, we're going to lay out our half square triangles. In the corners, we're going to have the light pointing inwards. And then next to those, we're going to have the darks pointing towards each other. And we will finish the layout with our dark squares in the center of each side. Let's see if I can get a little bit more zoomed out. There, now you can see it better. So to finish this off, I'm just going to sew this together in rows. I'll sew this row together, and then this row and this row on, and then I'll just sew each of my rows together, and we will have our finished block. And here's the finished New Mexico block. Thank you for joining me today working on the New Mexico block. I hope you enjoyed this and you continue following along as we journey through all 50 states. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss out when the next block is released. Until next time, cheers and happy quilting.